George Norrie with you. Brent Miller, our guest tonight. Brent, tell me about this incredible discovery of forests hundreds of feet under the Antarctic ice.
Actually, that is a perfect example about how fast this event happens. Unlike the New York City event, where it slowly drops, if you have a forest that is slowly dropping in the ocean, it would be dead within a year. It would no longer be a forest within 2 or 3 years, and as it drops under the ocean, there'd be nothing but decayed vegetation that would slowly disappear and vanish.
Mm-hmm.
What we have underneath the Antarctic ice is literally 6 million square miles of tropical forest. It shows that this pole shift, the pole shift that caused that event, was so quick and so sudden, it dropped what was a continent landmass above the ocean, a thriving tropical forest in warm weather, to suddenly be under the ocean and now at the southern pole where it doesn't get sunlight, and so you get layers of ice building on top of the ocean, making it hundreds of feet thick. So it's now buried. This event would have occurred in well less than a year. Otherwise, the forest wouldn't be there, the remnants of the forest, to the extent that we have it. We're not talking an isolated patch here and there. We're talking 6 million square miles.
That's huge. Is that one of the reasons, Brent, that we hear stories of governments, our government, the Russians, always there in that region with submarines, looking for things, testing things, doing research?
There is a number of different reasons and theories why they're there. We're of course, not privy to what they're up to, but we do know that they are building telescopes on the southern ice shelf, looking, towards the south into doing research on the magnetic poles of the Earth. But as far as looking at the bottom of the ocean, I'm not aware of what they might be doing there. While we're in Antarctica, they have dug ice core samples, another great example of the cyclic nature of these events. The ice core samples in Greenland and Antarctica both match each other. When you take a long ice core sample several hundred feet down,
right.
As you go back, as you go deeper, you're going back in time,
That's
layer
right.
by layer. And as each layer is moved through, you can analyze the molecular content that made up that ice at that time, and it has trapped the atmospheric molecules in that layer of ice at that time. So you can tell the percentage of CO2, the percentage of nitrogen, oxygen, argon, etc., in every year. Typically, the error rate is to bracket it in 10-year increments. But what we see is a cyclic event that happens. The overall massive running cycle is 110,000 years. And then you have 5 subcycles within that 110,000 years. But the most important thing is that every so many thousand years, there is a layer of cosmic dust. Interstellar radiation has made it to the deck of the planet, of Earth, and has sealed cosmic dust in that layer of ice. These are the events that we're most concerned about, because these are the events that signify a massive gravitational wave outside the planet that literally shifts the planet, because it would require such a massive external event in order to push dust from the outside of the surface of the Earth to the surface of the Earth.
When do you believe the last catastrophic pole shift occurred?
There's quite a bit of evidence that suggests it occurred in the very recent past. In fact, we have ancient documents that tell us it happened roughly, based on our current calendar system, around 9000 BC. Let's look at
not long ago in the scheme of things.
Not long ago. Absolutely not. In fact, let's look at, in-your-face data that is just really thrown in your face. The Mississippi River, for example. The Mississippi River flows from the north, is one of the longest rivers in the United States, other than the Colorado River.
That old man river.
Yep, and while it's traveling, it dumps silt in the delta, in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, the rate at which it dumps silt has been very consistent ever since they were measuring the amount of silt it dumps into the delta region, the mouth of the Mississippi. If you look at per year, if you look at the total volume of the silt in that delta, you can extrapolate when the Mississippi River came to be.
Okay.
All right, because every year it dumps so much. And so that accumulates there. It doesn't go anywhere. It accumulates. So if you look at the total amount of silt that's there and extrapolate how much silt is dumped every year and work backward in time, you can determine approximately when the Mississippi was, quote, created.
Now, what do you think?
The estimates are as early as 4,500 years ago, and the oldest estimate is 12,000 years ago.
And what might the calamity, the external calamity, have been? Do you think it was an extraplanetary system that came by, or
well,
was
that particular event, we believe it was a passing space body with a very large gravitational pull.
And then where did it go?
This gravitational pull, we do have linguistics and translators who basically scour the planet also for ancient text and written records.
Okay.
And this is one of those cyclic space bodies that may run through our solar system occasionally.
Is this Planet X?
People have called it different things. I think the Corbin called it the Destroyer. The ancient Chinese called it something else. Nostradamus called it something else. I mean, it has like a dozen different names.
Does the Bible call it wormwood?
The wormwood is something different.
Okay.
In fact, we can get into that. I would very much like to go into where the Horizon Project has gone recently.
Okay, sure. And we'll come back, because I also want to talk about some of this lost technology with you, Brent.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. So we believe, based on the Mississippi, the last major pole shift happened between 4,500 years ago and 12,000 years ago. The oldest recorded documents, ancient documents we have, relate to what they refer to as a shifting of the stars at about what our calendar says is about 9,000 BC, which would be within that time period of the Mississippi. Also during that time period, if you date the Sphinx, carbon date the Sphinx, it is older than 10,000
Yeah,
BC.
and I believe that, too.
And if you carbon date the pyramids of Giza, they're not that old. They're only about 3,700, 4,000 BC. But the Sphinx has massive water damage, and the pyramids of Giza do not.
Now, how do they carbon date the Sphinx? I thought it was just all stone.
There's remnants. There's more than just stone in the pyramid and the Sphinx. There's particles of biological material. You can carbon date anything that had carbon matter in it moving from C12 to C14 based on the radiation, while the plant life and plant material was alive during that time. So there's sticks and stones, and there's not stones, but there's sticks and biological debris, not mammal debris, but vegetation type debris that is found in the basically in the structures of those two devices.
And doesn't the Sphinx show massive water damage on the outside?
It does. In fact, this makes perfect sense because of because we know that the Sphinx appears to be much older than the pyramids. It also matches where we believe, in brackets, where we believe the pole shift occurred. So basically, the pole shift created the massive water damage on the Sphinx, and it created the Mississippi at the same time by reorienting the land masses. It may, in fact, since we don't know, we weren't there, it may, in fact, have been an event that helped spread apart a number of the continents and drop some land masses, such as the lost continent of Atlantis legend.
And what might have happened to those civilizations? Wiped out?
I do believe that if they had enough time to prepare, they wouldn't be completely wiped out. They would remember, they have advanced technology.
So they were able to move on.
Right. They would move on. They would survive, but their technology would be lost, and all they would have left is legend. It's interesting to note that we look at our planet. We have 7 continents, and on every continent they have these same legends, and they also have the same basic architecture.
Also sounds a little like Hopi prophecy, Brent.
Yeah. There is prophecy. There is a lot of prophecy, and I would like to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, let's do that next hour.
Okay, but